All right. Hey. Hi, I'm Eric Berman. Candidate number 000013270004. And this is going to be the first of a long series of reflections that I'm going to be doing um, for my CAS hours and stuff. So the first thing that I'd actually like to look at is the Bias Awareness Day, where I myself and several other members of Interact Club worked with teachers and guidance counselors where we essentially helped run the day. Bias Awareness Day was essentially it's school run and also um, much larger. I believe it's national, although the day that we did it is slightly different. Like we did it November 28th, and I believe that it normally occurs in January. Um, so anyway, um, it occurred at Camp Ramapo for Children, which is a organization that works with children with who have special needs or are being rehabilitated for some drug use or anger problems or something like that, I believe. Anyway, so essentially what Bias Awareness Day was is um, essentially it was just uh, the incoming freshmen in high school, like the ninth graders, would be given a full day field trip where they go off to Camp Ramapo and then they do group activities where they I don't know learned about different types of bias, um, talked with each other. Like they first started in large group, like the entire grade, and then went into smaller groups. This was actually one of my favorite field trips back in ninth grade. Like I just had a lot of fun, and it did make an impact on me. I didn't feel as though I was very biased going into it, but the activities were fun, and um, it just was a fun day, and I did learn a lot about other classmates. Not necessarily, um, I don't feel as though it enlightened me like bias wise, um, because again, being like a grade student, I don't really think that I was biased against them to start out, but it was interesting seeing where different people in Red Hook High School came into different or came to the same area from wildly different places that they started out. So essentially, uh, this year was the first year that the 10 or so Interact Club members were actually able to assist and be teacher assistants for Bias Awareness Day, and this actually came as a result of me personally. Like I'm not even kidding here. Like there was another occasion, a leadership conference that we did similarly at Camp Rambo, and I got it in my head that this is what we were actually going to be doing was the Bias Awareness Day. So I got all excited for that, and we showed up, and it was still a really fun time, and we did learn leadership conference. Like it was fun. We did a lot of stuff, which I might enlighten you later yeah, might talk to you later about. But essentially, I talked to the person who was running the leadership conference, or our representative from our school, and she said, "No, that's not what we're doing. We're not doing Bias Awareness Day." But so anyway, so I essentially just talked to them, and then blah 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 blah. I'm gonna try to keep this short so that the upload isn't way too high. Essentially, I talked to them, and she thought that it was a really cool idea for the students to participate in this. So she said, "Okay, let's do it." And since it was so early in the school year, we were still able to do it. And since I was with Interact Club, who was with the leadership conference, myself and my friends in the club essentially got first choice if we wanted to join up and be the teacher assistant, and that actually ended up being really cool. Um, in my particular case, I worked with another IB student, Julia Kent, and we worked with a teacher who hadn't actually done Bias Awareness Day before, who was Mr. Way, and yeah, and that was actually really fun because he gave us a ton of leeway. He essentially let us work as equals with him in organizing the full day event. So it was kind of like working kind of like a student teacher to him because we were teaching students who were still several years younger than me, and because they were so new to the school, I didn't really know any of them except for like two, and it was actually really fun. We we started in mid-October, like planning about the activities that we were going to do, and we actually made up several. Julian and I made up several different activities that weren't in like the guidebook that they gave us, and made different additions and stuff. I'm not really going to go too far into it. One that I really liked was we made a poster of like we told people to say who are the cliques who are in your school that or in your grade, and they'd go and write it up on a poster board, and then they had to choose various different like one or two word phrases and go put those up on the main pages, and then they just essentially they realized that like tons of different people had very different interpretations of the same exact click, and then we told them that they had to classify themselves into one or two of the groups that they think other people see them as, and then what they themselves would want to be seen as. And it was actually really interesting. Um, I like if we told them later to examine that as uh, whatever. So essentially, they didn't like where they were being like shoehorned into for a lot of them. And then it also like opened my eyes because um, ninth graders have a lot of conflict in their lives. Like there's no bullying in senior year and junior year, like the current 12th and 11th grade classes. Um, but there was in ninth grade, and there was like fighting and stuff like that that I hadn't even heard of, and that like was eye-opening because I will freely admit that Red Hook is just a bubble. Um, so it was actually really interesting because then we later told them because they were insisting that there was bias and like problems going on in the world, or not in the world, just in Red Hook, and we, myself and Julia, were unaware of this, so that was really eye-opening. And then it like they taught us in that respect, but then we also tried to encourage them to open up their eyes to racial and ethnic and cultural biases like that. And it was kind of strange because they really didn't want to, because they all acknowledged that biases were bad when dealing with ethnic and cultural um, differences, but in the same regard, they weren't willing to let go of their bias in ninth grade and in like our little bubble of Red Hook. It was really strange because it's like they acknowledged that they did have bias, so we made them aware. Yay, good, go for us. But we didn't get them to change, and that was kind of a success. Like it made me more aware. I don't know. Um, so I feel as though I hit all of the points. Increased awareness of my strengths and areas for growth. I want to become an English teacher, so dealing with the ninth grade kids in Red Hook, that would be cool. It definitely was an eye-opening experience. Like we kind of commanded their respect for most of it, but then there were a few problem kids. It actually was really good. We got a good group of kids. Um, Undertaking new challenges, that's kind of obvious. I taught a class for essentially the whole day. Planned and initiated activities, that's obvious. I mean, it's kind of, this is my entire mistaken idea. It's kind of happening like that. Working collaboratively with others, I worked with Julia a lot, and Mr. Way. so that's pretty obvious. Perseverance and commitment, we did a lesson plan, which I'm sure doesn't seem like a ton for past teachers and the IB students, but or IB graders. I don't know who's actually looking at this, but that was hard and it was cool. Like I liked doing it. Engage with issues of global importance. Obviously, bias awareness, cultural, ethnic, etc. Considering ethical implications, that's also obvious. Again, it was eye-opening for myself as well, seeing that there were biases in my high school when I thought it was just fine, and then developing new school skills. Public speaking, I have been strong, but that was actually a test of it because I had to talk for the full day and keep an eye on everybody. It like we had Mr. Way and Mr. Kaplan, who was another teacher who had been doing bias awareness, like standing behind us. And eventually, Julia and I kind of gave up. Um, like not really gave up, but took a break. So for like half hour or something, right at the end. But then we came back. Um, so it was actually really fun, and I think that we did a good job with it. And that's about it. I'll hopefully keep other reflections smaller. Done.